Hello and welcome to another episode of Bored and Annoyed. I'm Jackson.
And I am home at the movies.
And this week we have a few movies to talk about. A couple of them that we both didn't see. Or how should I put that?
We only saw one movie as a unit.
Correct. We only saw Incredibles 2. And then Alex saw Tag, and I saw First Reformed.
So be ready for that.
Yeah.
Woo! Bored and Annoyed. As always, movie news first.
Okay.
So we got some Aquaman pictures.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
DC rolling out the pictures for their coming films.
Yeah, did you see that Jason Momoa was rocking a wallet chain?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. You back to that 90s
thing.
thing.
We're bringing it back.
Yep. Hey, there you go.
Thoughts on what you saw?
I mean, I need to see the movie.
Right. Well, you need to see a trailer.
I need to see a trailer, and then, yeah, it would be nice to see the movie because I just don't trust them.
Right.
It's kind of funny because I watched a James Wan movie over the weekend. I think it's a James Wan movie.
Which one was that?
Insidious 2.
Oh, I think that's his.
And the worst movie of his that I've seen.
Wow.
If I'm being honest.
Okay.
I mean, unless he did like any of the Saw sequels or anything.
I can't remember.
But yeah, I saw that, and yeah, again, it's like stylistically it's done really well. Like all, he sets you up for jump scares better than anybody.
Yeah.
But the movie itself, terrible. Just hammed up performances. Like Patrick Wilson is in it, and I usually like him. Yeah. And he's like going insane.
Yeah, normally he's really good at picking projects, I feel.
Right. Well, yeah, I like him a lot. And in this, it was just, he was kind of like, off his rocker a bit. And he really, like, hammed it up. Like, so obvious, dude, that you're, like, possessed or something.
Right. Well, Patrick Wilson is actually going to be in Aquaman.
Of course, he's a James Wan guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of excited for that.
Sure.
They got some nice little their suits, like they had the two female leads on the front.
Yeah, and that's Amber Heard, right?
Yeah,
is one of them.
And I don't know anything about her as far as her acting ability.
No, all I know, I saw a movie with her, and I can't remember the name of it. I think it's where she met Johnny Depp.
Oh,
because she was married to Johnny Depp, and then there was like abuse,
Yep.
allegations or
They
something.
got kicked out of Australia, which is like that. It's like getting kicked out of Canada. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, if you can get into Canada, it's tough to get kicked out. But yeah, I don't know, whatever. I like James Wan overall, so I have hope. But
I mean, I like their suits. I kind of like a lot of the set, or not set design, but just the costume design looks pretty good outside of Jason Momoa.
Well, and I was just going to say, hopefully it doesn't have the same aesthetic as like when Aquaman went to Atlantis in Justice League.
Right. I hope so too, because it was really dark. It was really dark and dimly lit, and they had to create air bubbles to talk down there.
It was fucking weird.
They've already addressed that though.
Okay.
And there's going to be no air bubbles to talk in this movie. They're literally going to be talking under the in the water. I don't know how that's going to work.
They just have no concern for like, lore or what's been set up in the franchise, which is good. Yeah.
Good. Just
we've talked about this
pretend it doesn't even exist. Right. But talking about, movie set photos, we got some set photos for Wonder Woman 2, Wonder Woman 1984. Fucking called it.
Yeah, so is he Steve Trevor or is he the...
I mean, we don't know.
But I think you're right, because when I saw the picture, that was the first thing I thought is like, they brought him back. And I said originally, like, that would make me happy.
Right.
Because he was good in the first one.
They had great chemistry, and it's kind of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Correct. And if it is broke, stop using air bubbles to talk in.
Right.
That's the lesson.
That is the old phrase. And if it is broke, stop using air bubbles.
Correct.
I'm going to put that on a poster. So Chris Pine is actually, it appears like he's actually in the 80s because he's wearing like a members only jacket. He's wearing, like those high khakis.
It looked like where he was, as far as the set around him, was like 80s. It almost looked like he was like in an airport or something.
I thought he was like in a mall.
There you go. That could be it.
But so, I mean, it could be a dream sequence. It could be a cameo for all we know. We don't know if he's actually a large part of the movie at this point.
Yeah, it could be anything, really. But I'm just glad he's there.
Right. I'm just glad that I was right.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Weekend box office. Don't really need to talk about any other movies other than Incredibles 2 because it destroyed.
Yeah, 180?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, highest animated feature debut of all time.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, what was Finding Dory was the last one, I believe.
Yeah.
So these things just keep making more money.
Yeah, and it's one of Disney's highest too because it beat the Beauty and the Beast remake.
Okay.
Which had, I believe, 176
Jesus.
last year.
I didn't realize that one did that well.
Yeah,
Holy crap.
it did insane.
Yeah.
So, yeah, once again, Disney killing it. Incredibles making up for Solo.
Yeah, I was going to say, so they're killing it everywhere but Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So strange.
It is strange.
And you know what I thought was, we brought up Solo. God damn, we're going to talk about Solo again.
I was actually thinking today, like, oh, we have a podcast tonight. How is The Last Jedi going to come into the conversation this time? But this time it's Solo. So.
Right. Well, I was thinking, so Star Wars, you're not always going to have that Rogue One, Last Jedi level of box office return.
Sure.
And I was like, maybe this is the norm, is like some of the offshoot movies would be smaller. And that's okay because you got like your Doctor Stranges and your Ant-Mans for Marvel.
Yep.
And so that kind of makes sense. But it doesn't work because it's failing so horribly overseas.
Well, what's interesting too, I mean, you got to remember, like, not only were people not excited about Solo and they were kind of burned, but the critics' consensus, I mean, they screened it a couple weeks before it came out.
Right.
Was, meh. Like, I'm sure if the critics would, although I guess they said they love The Last Jedi, but if the critics would have come out and said, like, it's awesome, like,
right.
Then I think it would have done a little better. But people had this preconceived notion, like, it looks messy in the trailers.
Right.
And I don't really care to see it. And then they see the Rotten Tomatoes score and they're like, oh, so it's exactly what I expected.
Right. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I think that we're the film dudes, Sometimes I think we maybe overstate the power of Rotten Tomatoes because I know people who just decide, I'm interested in that movie. I don't care what the critics say. I'm going to see it.
Yeah, they don't even look.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's fine. Actually, I think that's kind of a healthy attitude is you just go and you make up your own mind.
That's true. I wish I wasn't obsessed with my phone and shit. And
right.
I didn't see,
Right. Well, it kind of kills your expectations. Or in my case, it can it can make for an interesting experience.
Where you're expecting one thing.
You're expecting one thing and you come out with something. And a lot of the time it's worked against me because I expect greatness and I find just, pretty good.
Stay tuned, folks. That happened to me this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, Incredibles too. I mean, what do you attribute that level of success to? Is it the 14-year gap?
I was going to say, I hate to bring up Star Wars, but people get pretty excited when you have to wait a long time for something, you know?
And, spoiler alert, it's a good movie.
It's good. Yeah, I was very impressed with it, to be honest with you.
Right. So, I mean, I think it's got that 4-quadrant appeal. It gets everybody.
It does. It certainly does.
Yeah,
which they are masters of, by the way.
Yeah, Pixar is, I mean, the balance that they strike is, it's amazing.
I mean, if you think about it, like, like when that comes out, dads, moms, everyone's excited. Like, oh, sweet. I get to take my kid to the new Disney movie this weekend.
And it's not going to suck.
Right.
I'm not going to claw my eyes out like I did for Wrinkle in Time, which brings us to our next topic.
I was going to say, I'm really excited about this topic because I was wondering why you didn't like A Wrinkle in Time. And now it's been fully explained to me.
It's because I'm a white male.
Yes. Brie Larson, thank you.
And the worst thing is that I really like Brie Larson, so we should probably explain this.
Yeah, no, and we talked about that aspect of it, is that both of us think she's great.
Yeah.
Like, I have no problems with her.
Right.
But no, apparently she came out and said, and I should have had the quote pulled up, but it's kind of a long quote, so we'll just give the cliff notes of it.
Right.
She said something along the lines of basically that too many critics are white males. And for a movie like A Wrinkle in Time, I don't really care what they think because it wasn't made for them.
Yeah.
Well, to her, I would say, okay, it looked like a pretty expensive movie.
Yeah.
Who was it made for? Like, obviously, this thing would have needed mass appeal to be successful.
Yes.
And secondly, my first thought went to like, okay, I really liked Black Panther a lot. I really liked Get Out a lot.
Right.
Does my good opinion not matter on those movies because they weren't made for me?
Right.
It just seems like a very stupid thing that they're probably, people that think like that are probably using it only in cases where it's convenient.
Right.
You know?
Well, for me, it's so problematic on so many levels. Because it's like, I mean, there are some questions that you have to ask because of it. You know, why do we have so many white male critics?
Right.
Because it's 80% of critics are white males.
Are white males.
Yeah.
Not just males.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Or no.
I thought that 80% were males.
Yeah. Well, because there was an 80 and there was an 82.
Right.
So I think it's 80% males, 80% white males, and 82% males.
That could be right. But it's funny because you say that, and it's like I scrolled through because we were going to discuss this. I scrolled through, and I don't know if they move people to the top to make it look more
right.
But it seems to me there's a lot of women reviewing movies. But I could be completely wrong.
Right.
But either way, I mean, what's your solution, Brie?
Right.
Like you need if people want to be movie critics, and that's what they want to do for a living,
right?
Then they should work to be movie critics. Are these people being told like, no, we don't want to hire you because you're not a white male, or does it just so happen that white males are the ones who,
right? You
know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it's almost self-evident when you look on YouTube. The predominant demographic that reviews movies on YouTube, and these are all amateurs, are white males.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, white males are nerds,
right?
More often than I would say anything else.
And I look at it as like, okay, so why is it white males? Is it because there aren't stories that that ignite women's passion for film, like over the long term of their life? Because I feel like everybody enjoys films when they're kids, but I think some people really sort of, I don't want to say fall out of love with movies, but they don't, it doesn't become a passion.
Sure.
And so it's like, are the stories not engaging enough for women? Or is it that when women get interested in film, what I've been noticing is you see a lot of women are interested in production of film now. Like when I went to college, I took production courses, and those classes were easily 50. They were right around 50-50 male female.
Well, that's good though.
Yeah, that is good. And I know two of so they break us into groups, and like one of my classes was sound design and cinematography.
Yeah.
And they broke us into smaller groups, like a standard 5-person crew, which is what you would have on a very small indie project.
Sure.
And the two girls that were in my group actually both now work in film in some degree.
There you go. I bet you that's like, that whole demographic is changing. By the way, I did pull it up.
Okay.
So the study has found that film critics are almost 80% male.
Okay.
Of the 19,559 reviews studied, 77.8 were by male critics and 22.2 were by female critics.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'd have to dig deeper to see how many of those are minority males and females. But to her point, more men are critics that are published than women. Right.
And my thing is like, okay, if you want to encourage women to do that and really sort of make it a goal for society, that's cool. You can say, hey, women, we want your voice.
Sure.
But I also think that I saw A Wrinkle in Time with my girlfriend, and she didn't like it either.
Yeah, but we know why. Because, okay, so that explains, she's pointed you out, the white male.
Right.
But your girlfriend's also white.
Right. Well, and I mean, see, this gets into the real problem. This is sort of the real problem that I have, is that she's almost not even judging. Like, it's so insane because it's like, do you want more white, do you want more women or minorities because they will therefore like these movies that are aimed at them? Because if that's the goal, or they'll support it regardless of if they like it, because that's not what you want.
Well, that's where I think I could turn this around on her. I think Get Out is really good, and I think Black Panther is really good. Do I think like Get Out is better than Hereditary? Absolutely not. Do I think that Black Panther is better than the third Avengers movie? Absolutely not.
Right.
I would venture to guess that the cultural significance of those movies actually boost the number.
Right.
I mean,
right. Well, I mean, it serves a demographic that traditionally is underserved. Which I totally get. And that's fine. That's kind of why I enjoy what's going on in film nowadays is you're getting really, really diverse stories nowadays, I feel, from different backgrounds. I love that like Taika Waititi, somebody from New Zealand with a vastly different background from me. And
he's killing it. And we had Lady Bird last year, which I thought was one of the best movies of the year.
Right. I'm just loving getting different voices from different backgrounds.
Right. Well, and then on the other side, we had Moonlight, which everybody really liked. Right. I didn't really like it.
I thought it was pretty good. I don't think it was Best Picture good, right? But I thought it was pretty good.
To our point, us two certainly aren't coming out of the theater like judging a movie. Our score isn't going to change based on that.
Right.
So if A Wrinkle in Time, I don't know what it got, like 20% or something. If it's a steaming pile of shit,
well, yeah,
then it's a steaming pile of shit. I don't care who's in it.
Because it sort of reminds me of like Hereditary. Like I see Hereditary and I thought it was fine, but it really wasn't my cup of tea. Like I didn't love it.
Sure.
But I can look at it and say it's executed well on like so many levels.
Right. You would be a fresh tomato if your score was counted.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Because I can't in good conscience give that a bad review.
Right.
And it's the same thing with Wrinkle in Time. It's broken on so many levels that it's like, it doesn't matter that it's aimed at a young black female demographic. It was poorly made, and it not only was it poorly made, but it wasn't really made for anybody, and it wasn't marketed well. That's why the opening weekend wasn't good. That's why it didn't succeed. Parents don't go to check Rotten Tomatoes for their damn kids' movies because they're like, yeah, sure, you want to see a movie? Let's go see the movie you want to go see. It's rated PG. Let's go see it. It's like that's not the reason it didn't succeed. It didn't succeed because it was too boring for young kids. And it was not mature enough or interesting enough for adolescents or adults. Well, it served no one.
And back to my original point, if your target audience is young, like black youth, then you better not spend that much on a movie. I don't understand the argument really. Like it's an expensive movie.
Right.
It's clearly made to entertain a lot of people.
Right.
And Brie Larson saying, I don't care what white males thought of the movie. Well, someone does because it needs to make money.
Yeah.
So,
well, it reminds me of like we look at like the Marvel movies and they are covering all their bases. That's why they hire Chris Hemsworth because he's an attractive person. That's for the females. I really couldn't care less what he looks like. I mean, he looks the part.
Yep.
But I remember Alexander Skarsgård.
But they're also good movies.
They're also good movies.
That's the thing.
They're good on many different levels.
Correct.
But they also appease a ton of the demographics. They appease kids. They appease adults because the themes can be mature enough.
You've got women heroes.
You've got female heroes.
Yeah.
You've got the romance. If you're a traditional female who likes a little bit of romance, there's some romance in them. It's becoming less so. I feel like.
There was the Vision and
that's right.
Yeah, I thought that was a big part of the movie.
It was. You're right. So I mean, it's like they're doing a good job in that they understand that these movies are so big that they need to. Now you can be niche in sort of your subject matter, but you need to be broad in your appeal.
Well, and to your point about being broad, not only is it being broad and covering all the bases, but like I'm not like a huge romance fan, but if there's one that's done well,
right,
I can enjoy it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that's why, I brought up like, different tastes and stuff. And I'm not saying that women can't like the same things as men, but and I'm obviously not an expert on this, but I was watching some some YouTube videos, and one was talking about, the interests of men and women and what was taught in elementary school and middle school as far as literature. And they were talking about how the female students overall enjoyed different types of stories that had different things within them than what the male students enjoyed.
Sure.
And
so if a movie comes out, then if it's a story that females would typically enjoy,
right,
its Rotten Tomatoes score might be a little bit lower because of the 80% male reviewers.
I don't even know. See, and that is why if that is the case, that's wrong, because I feel like you should judge a story based on the content of the story and the quality of the story.
Correct.
Not necessarily, does it super appeal to me? Because like if I go see the new Halloween and I'm not a big fan of horror, but it's executed well on every level, I can't give it a Rotten Tomato.
Well, right. And once in a while, you'll see one that's not in your genre. Yeah. That's like, wow, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I want to go watch more of that type of shit now.
Right.
I mean, you're talking about this on the other side. It's like, my girlfriend is not a huge superhero fan by any means.
Right.
But when you come out of the theater, like, she knows if it was a good one or a shitty one.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
well, it's, yeah. I mean, I don't want to fully discredit everything she says. I just want to, I do want to say that it would be nice to get some different voices as far as reviewers, but, let's do it in a smart way where it's not like, let's exclude you because you're a white male.
Correct.
Just like I don't want
social engineering is a bit scary. Yeah.
Just like I don't want anybody who wants to be a reviewer who's a black female excluded because she's a black female. I just want people who are competent to get the jobs.
It shouldn't matter what gender or ethnicity they are.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's sort of where we land on it. It's just a little, it's like, we're white dudes. Do we not, we're starting a podcast. We're trying to find success.
Oh, you should feel guilty for that.
Right.
Alex.
I mean, it's like, it just, it just kind of sucks because I do like Brie Larson a lot.
Yeah, I like Brie Larson and I like Cate Blanchett too.
Oh, yeah. So
that's one also where, kind of continuing this conversation, we don't have to spend as long on it because we already have. But with their movie, I think it was Mindy Kaling who originally said something along the lines of like, our scores are skewed on Rotten Tomatoes because we're a female cast. They would have been higher if they weren't a female cast. And I'm going to put the argument out there that it is precisely the opposite. And I'm going to read a couple positive reviews of the movie.
Okay.
Just a couple little blurbs from, keep this in mind, this is people who had positive things to say. So Tori Preston writes, and I didn't write down the publication, but she writes, Ocean's 8 has those twists and challenges, but they are kind of lazy if I'm being honest. One big reveal at the end, if you think about it hard enough, basically ruins the entire premise that Debbie Ocean planned this heist during her 5 years in prison. Then, she shits on the movie for like 3 paragraphs.
Okay.
And then at the end it says, look, if it sounds like I'm being harsh, then let me say that I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. It's fun. It'll put a smile on your face. I'm glad it's a thing that exists. So please go see it and throw all of your money at it. So that's her positive review of the movie. So the whole entire review is her shitting on this.
Okay.
And then the end of the review is like, but it's good. So I read that and I think, well, if this was a male cast, you probably wouldn't have liked this.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but yeah, it's dubious. It's strange.
So here's Rex Reed writes, it all adds up to an appealing, if inconsequential, piece of fluff. That's from a positive review. Here's one that's focused from Mary Jane Johansson. A breezy fun that sticks a shiv into Hollywood's and larger cultures' disdain for women. Wonderfully subtle comic performances from a great cast having a ball, making for a perfectly suitable light diversion from the world right now. So that one's not, and there's more too, but I'm not going to get into them. But that last one is this disdain for women.
it's sort of strange to me because it's like every single woman in that cast outside of Rihanna I really like. So I mean, what disdain is she talking about?
What disdain, period. I don't I'm sure there's asshole sexist people out there.
Right, absolutely.
But none of the moviegoer people I know, and I don't think Hollywood in general has a disdain for women. So
I don't know.
This is another case where to me it's like you can't have your cake and eat it too here.
Right.
You need to acknowledge that it's possible that the pendulum swings the other way. I mean, you look through these reviews and it's review after review with a fresh tomato, and it's people pointing out all sorts of shit wrong with the movie. And then there's a comment on the cast and they give it like 2.5 out of 4 stars and it's fresh.
Right.
So, okay, Mindy Kaling, like it's the second best Ocean's movie I've seen personally.
Yeah.
Because I've only seen 3 of them.
Ocean's 12 and Ocean's 13 were not good movies.
Well, I've never seen 13. I heard it's better than 12.
It was better than 12, I should say. I haven't seen it in years.
12, I think, was the one where Julia Roberts was in it playing herself, and like the character Julia Roberts was playing had to do like a switcheroo for the heist with Julia Roberts, the actress.
That sounds terrible. I'm so glad I can't remember it.
It was awful, I remember. But yeah, I thought this movie was okay. Nothing notable to me, really. Some good performances, whatever. If you're really interested in seeing it, go see it. But then you hear, like, no, people think your movie was bland. It was a pretty bland movie.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with the makeup of the cast.
Right.
Nobody hates any of these actresses.
Right.
You know?
Well, yeah, I mean, going back to like Wrinkle in Time and why that failed for me, I mean, it's like the opening weekend wasn't big, which means the marketing didn't do its job in getting people interested. Then it didn't have good holds from week to week. And it had a small overall box office, which means that the word of mouth wasn't good. And it's probably the same here. It's like, yeah, it had the biggest opening weekend of the series.
Right.
Which means that the hook at least was interesting enough. And if it has decent holds, then fine. Then you did well. I don't know why you're upset. I mean, what is it? Like a 60-something%?
No, it's fresh. Yeah,
it's fresh. So, I mean, it's like, it's not, it didn't look like it was going to be a great movie to me, if I'm honest. And it has nothing to do with the cast. In fact, the cast was the one thing I was literally excited about.
Right. Well, and that's what's funny is, like I said, you know, maybe I'll catch hell for this, but I would say if it wasn't the all-female, the all-strong female cast who are good in this movie is a stinker that gets like a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Right. Well, and it's going back to what you were saying about appealing to many different demographics. Yeah, you can do that. And that's the smart business decision. And we can have movies that appeal to one demographic, but you can't make them expensive. And I would argue that the ones that are appealing to small demographics, like the new Death Proof, or not Death Proof. Oh God, what's that new Bruce Willis one that was the remake of
Death Wish?
Death Wish. The new Death Wish did terribly, and that's so obviously a man movie.
Right.
It doesn't even try to bridge the gap and try and get women interested.
No, but I would guess it had a small budget.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like Eli Roth or something made it, like a little.
But yeah, my point being, these movies that are so incredibly niche just are not doing as well because they don't appeal to a broader demographic.
Yep. I would
agree.
So,
I mean, it's like, it's not just female movies. In fact, you can make the argument the movies Twilight, the 50 Shades of Grey movies, you know, these movies are primarily for females. In fact, to the point where a lot of dudes have no interest because they're so female centric.
Correct.
And they did well. They did really well. So it's like,
and they were made intelligently because, for instance, the Twilight movies, I'm ashamed to say I've seen all of them.
Haven't seen any of them.
All right. Well, anyway, they're made for nothing. I mean,
yeah.
Cheap looking green screens.
Yeah.
Everybody's just talking in rooms. It's kind of like the prequels in that way.
Okay.
Where it's like a soap opera. You'll have 3 characters like sitting on a couch.
Right.
And then someone will walk in. Like,
and,
yeah. And it's like you can tell they knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah. I forget what the film term is. I think it's something called like business. Like what is your what is your character doing while saying this dialogue? What's my character's business? That's not the right fucking term, but I won't be able to remember it.
Yeah, just you want to be doing something interesting.
Yeah, somebody's doing dishes while the other person is unloading groceries. Well, it's something that makes it feel more real. And the second it's just people sitting around talking like a podcast, it feels a little strange.
I would agree. Plug to Plinkett again.
Okay.
In one of those reviews for the prequels, I can't remember which one, but he talks about that, how like in the prequels it's just people sitting on couches or just walking in a room.
Yes.
And then he compares it with the first Star Trek movie. Mm-hmm. And there's a scene in the first Star Trek movie where like Captain Kirk gets like stuck with something and his face and hands start to blow up like he's like infected or something.
Right.
And it's like the scene is them like running. It's like they're doing exposition, but there's something going on.
Yes.
That's exciting.
Yes.
And it's serving two purposes.
Right.
Which is what you need.
Which is, and just like everything else, like they can imbue their actions with whatever they're doing with character bits.
Correct.
Or somebody's pissed off while they're putting the groceries away, and it can escalate throughout the scene to the point where they break the eggs or something.
Yeah.
Like it's just a matter of like that. It's just another thing to make your scene more entertaining. And that's a perfect example, that breaking the eggs thing, because you can have a really frustrated character who's having a bad day and his wife gets home or her husband gets home, right,
and he's in the kitchen all pissed off, about whatever,
right,
and then just to top it off, an egg breaks on the floor.
And that can be the capper to the scene. It's so easy, so it's so frustrating. Like, that's why it's frustrating to me to hear about the Twilight movies, because it's like they looked like they were lazily made.
They are, but they know they are. They're making a product, and
right,
and women liked them,
right,
enough to go see all of them. Many women, multiple times,
right.
So
and my thing is like I'm glad that females have a female hero to look up to. I'm not sure if choosing a boyfriend, the movie series, is maybe the best role model to have.
Oh, she's heroic, Alex.
But at least they got like the Hunger Games. At least Katniss is at least a better hero.
There's a great example of a movie that it fits every demographic.
It's meant for everyone.
It's
really
fantastic.
Yeah.
The first one's damn good. The rest of them, I have my nitpicks, but they're all quality movies.
Yeah, they're all pretty well made outside of like plotting issues, really.
Right.
But
yeah, diatribe
huge
Central.
diatribe.
Whatever.
I hope that's what you guys came for.
Yeah, they tune in for the diatribes. But yeah, do we have anything else?
I don't think we have anything else, really.
Okay.
There was the AT&T Time-Warner thing.
Okay.
The merger went through. The judge approved it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I don't have much to say now. I'd be more interested in speaking about that down the road when we get, because, it could have huge implications, because AT&T, for instance, owns DirecTV.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden they own Time-Warner. I don't know. It's crazy.
Well, what's going to be interesting is now with the removal of net neutrality, which has been in place since 95, it's really going to reshape things, and we don't quite know how. Personally, I'm worried about small internet businesses who, require the traffic, and they require everybody being able to see the same sites, or at least see them at the same speed. So that,
we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
I'm a little less fire and brimstone about it. We'll see what happens. But
yeah, I guess my thing is like it's just a matter of it's sort of like some people are very afraid of big government. I'm also very afraid of big business.
There you go. Yeah, that's a good point. Like for me, because you know me, I'm one of those I don't like big government kind of guys. So I hear this and it's like, oh well, we'll see what happens. I'm sure they'll step in and take control of it again if they have to.
Yeah, my only real concern is hurting small entrepreneurs and hurting the access to the internet. Those are my two big things. So if nothing comes of it, fine. If something comes of it,
people are going to be pissed.
I hope that people are pissed, and I hope that something is done.
I can tell you right now, if I start playing Xbox and my shit slows down, I'm going to be pissed.
Well, yeah.
Honestly, I'm going to be pissed about that.
Well, and what I'd be worried about is like, now that they own Time Warner, anytime you try to stream a movie that's a Warner Brothers movie, it's going to be fine. You try to stream a Disney movie, not so great.
Yeah,
because I mean,
that's not going to happen though.
It could though.
No, it's not.
Well, I'm just saying, with net neutrality gone, it is now legal for them to do.
Theoretically, they could, but I mean, this is a conversation for not a movie podcast,
right?
But in general, it's not great to shit on your customers,
right?
So hopefully that's the way they think.
It's the whole free market thing, You'll find you'll find the medium price, you'll find what people are willing to accept. But now it's going to be a lot of the power is in the business' hands.
We'll see how they roll with it.
But we have already seen some consequences of this. The Time-Warner deal going through. Comcast put in a huge bid for 20th Century Fox.
So hold on. So 20th Century Fox, Disney put in a bid for Fox.
They did,
correct? So now Comcast and Disney have a bid.
Yeah, Comcast put in $65 billion. And what Disney had done was, I believe it was somewhere in the 20s for the billion, and they also offered shares in Disney.
Okay,
that's a big one because Comcast was. A lot of people were saying Comcast. If Time Warner AT&T doesn't go through, Comcast isn't going to do it because they know that they'd be rejected.
Comcast is NBC Universal, I believe.
Yeah.
So, God, it is a little bizarre.
Yeah.
Just like the whole thing, it's the whole monopolizing of different industry. That concerns me.
That concerns me is because we're getting into like the what do they call it? Oligarchy? Not an oligarchy. Anyways, we're just getting into that point where a few huge businesses own a lot of everything.
There you go.
And that's a little scary. But that's a little too doom and gloom for this podcast.
They don't own our podcast. Well,
yeah.
They might.
Well,
in one way or another.
They might just restrict the access to it.
Yeah, let's hope not.
I hope not. Otherwise, we'll go grassroots on this, and you guys can find us at the local.
We'll send out cassettes.
Yeah.
8-track tapes.
Yep. You will have a mailing list and everything.
Right there, you go.
Handmade with little notes.
Just you can't email me to get on the mailing list. I'll have to give you my real street address because they're going to lock down my email address.
Well, we're going to get a PO box. I'm not having people show up at your place.
But, the last bit I think we had talked about was, what do you think of that Dumbo trailer? Just real quick.
It looks fine. I'm not super impressed. Maybe it'll be good. It's Tim Burton. It doesn't look super Tim Burton-y.
That's where I'm concerned is like, I thought it looked really good, but then I was like, it's Tim Burton. I'm kind of tired of Tim Burton,
right.
To be honest with you.
I don't like how CGI Dumbo himself looks. His eyes are so strange.
No, it's an early trailer. We still have like a year. They can polish some things up.
Yeah. But, I guess you could say the set design looks very nice.
Sure.
Cinematography looks nice.
They should somehow put P.T. Barnum, played by Hugh Jackman, into the movie.
See, I almost thought, I was like, I wonder if that's why Jackson likes it. He's just
I think it looks okay.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge Dumbo fan
Yeah.
of the old Dumbo.
I mean, of the Disney movies, it's probably the one I've seen the least.
Okay.
I probably saw Aristocrats more than that.
In a year, the Aristocats.
Oh, I'm sorry, the Aristocats.
Get it right.
Yeah. Oh, my bad. My bad.
Get it right. No, we'll have to do like a Dumbo episode of the original Dumbo.
Oh my God.
The week that the new Dumbo is coming out.
So we can watch that.
Or in the same episode, you do 2 Dumbo movies.
Hey, that's not bad.
There you go.
I wonder if this one will have like a psychedelic scene like the original.
Yeah, I don't know. And kind of racially insensitive bird characters.
Yeah, those crows,
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
We'll see what they do.
That is not going to fly today.
We'll see what they do.
Those crows will not fly.
Podcast joke.
Yeah. High quality.
Yep.
But anyways, do you want to tell us about First Reformed?
Yeah, sure. I was looking to see either that or Tag on Saturday. I looked on Rotten Tomatoes. So here it's steering me towards First Reformed because it's like 96%.
Yep.
I kind of feel the way you did about Hereditary last week.
Okay.
Where it's like, I can't say the movie's terrible.
Right.
I mean, clearly, like, there's a lot of thought put into it.
Who's in this again?
So it's Ethan Hawke is the star of the movie in probably one of his best performances I've ever seen.
Okay.
So the guy who directed it is Paul Schrader. He directed Taxi Driver.
Okay.
So you're reaching back a ways on that. But basically the premise is that there's this priest. He works, pastor. He's a pastor at a small old church that is a sister church to like one of those mega churches. Like the what's that guy's name? The guy who didn't let people in when there was the hurricane.
Oh,
Joel Osteen type deals.
Yeah.
So he ends up being asked by this woman if he will counsel her husband, who is like an environmentalist.
Okay.
Like environmental activist.
All right.
Okay. And she's played by Amanda Seyfried, who's really good too. I like her a lot.
Yeah, wasn't she the one who was like bringing back like letter writing? Wasn't she like, didn't she like do that movie about like she wrote a letter and she put it in Rome and then she wrote a letter to her mom and Mamma Mia? Wasn't that Amanda Seyfried?
I don't know. I must have missed that one. I think she was in like a Robin Hood, or not Robin Hood, Little Red Riding Hood horror movie.
Making
and
sure
she was in that Megan Fox movie.
Where they lesed out for a scene.
Maybe. I don't remember that one really.
I never saw it.
It wasn't good.
That was the one thing I was told about it. So
I'm not even sure that happened. I feel like if that would have happened, that would have been a memorable scene. But
there's that white male thing again.
Yeah. But anyways, so
I'm gonna cut that part out.
I think it's kind of funny. So basically, she comes to him. She says, "Hey, can you talk to my husband? I'm pregnant, and he doesn't want to bring a child into this world with the environmental stuff going on."
You know what?
Whatever.
That's kind of on the point with a lot of like these millennials.
It's a heady topic,
Yeah.
For people passionate about that topic.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm not. I don't like hate the topic. It's fine. I like movies that have dealt with this before. So before you people start accusing me of being biased.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the environmental
there you go.
stuff.
There you go. So basically he counsels this guy and it something happens. You know what? Spoilers.
Okay.
Nobody wants to see this movie anyway.
Yeah, just your quick impression was that it was fine, even though it was well executed?
The ending sucked.
Okay.
I left the movie, like, annoyed.
Okay.
So, personally, I wish I would have seen Tag, even if Tag's a worse movie.
Okay.
But anyways, so basically this guy ends up blowing his own head off with a shotgun.
Wow.
And Ethan Hawke ends up finding, or the guy's wife ends up finding a suicide vest in their garage and calls Ethan Hawke, who comes over and is like, "Oh, I'll just take the suicide vest. Like, it's not going to do any good to report it to the authorities or whatever." Or wait, this happened before he died. Excuse me. That part happened before he died.
Okay.
Then he was going to go meet him, and the guy had blown his head off, so Ethan Hawke found his body. And then Ethan Hawke has this suicide vest, and it turns into this thing where it's like Ethan Hawke has like a spiritual breakdown.
Okay.
Where it's like, is God going to forgive us for the way we're leaving the environment? Which is interesting. Like I like the concept of like, there's this big business that invests in this mega church and they're kind of polluters.
Okay.
That's part of the plot.
Right.
But it's just so goddamn dour. I mean, at the end of the movie, like he's putting this vest on, ready to blow up because there's the 250th anniversary of the little classic church, and he's heading it, and all these investors and the big church people are going to be there. So his plan is to blow himself up and kill all these people. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, God.
Did they make this turn of a religious man going to a terrorist believable?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. And that's what's funny is because at the end of the movie, I feel like, because I know I felt this way, you are rooting for him to do this.
Wow.
Right.
Holy shit. That's pretty impressive to have your movie.
And to be fair, I think a large aspect of that is like you're wanting something to happen. And that would be like a big event that, okay, this is all built up to this.
Right.
But it doesn't happen. So here's what happens. I'm just going to go ahead and just blow this whole movie.
All right.
So what happens is he ends up, after the husband of Amanda Seyfried blew his head off, he ends up kind of befriending her and, counseling her a little bit, and they get close, and she decides she's going to move to Buffalo, but she wants to go to this 250th anniversary thing because she knows it's important to him and whatever.
Right.
So he tells her, like, don't come to this thing.
Okay.
So he lives in a little house that's like attached to the church, and he's got the vest on and everything, and he's looking out the window and he sees her show up.
Right.
So he's like, shit, God damn it, I can't do it now because it would kill her. So he doesn't do it. Instead, he takes a rocks glass and he pours Drano into it. And he's about to drink. Wait. He takes off the vest. He wraps himself in barbed wire, like a crown of thorns Jesus type thing. And then he fills up the glass with Drano, and he's about to drink it. And she walks in, and they start making out. Fade to black. And then someone literally said behind me, "Oh, for God's sake," out loud.
That was me.
Yes. No, right. It was interesting. I mean, did I hate it? Like I was engaged in the film.
Right. That sounds like a really bad ending because it sounds so incredibly cliche. Love is the reason.
It's bizarre.
Love is the reason that you don't kill yourself.
So there's a couple things going on too. Like he's kind of like pissing blood, and he's like dodging going to get stomach cancer tests. Like he's dying anyways. You don't know for sure.
Okay.
But he's dying anyways. And then there's a scene in there that's reminiscent of the ending of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Okay.
Where it's like, it's this weird scene. She comes over to his house and she's like, yeah, me and, Mark or whatever the hell his name is, we used to do this thing where like I would lay on top of him and whatever. And like she lays on top of him, like hands on hands, like he's face up, she's face down, and she's laying on top of him. Their arms are stretched like palms towards each other, palm to palm. And it goes to this like all of a sudden the background like turns to stars, and then it's like flying over the earth, and you see like the majestic earth, and then like then the earth starts changing, and then all of a sudden it's like piles of trash in the streets and shit. Yeah, I'm describing it. It probably sounds awful.
Yeah, that sounds like really sounds like a college kids movie.
It's very pretentious.
Yeah,
is how I would describe it.
Sounds like Mother.
Yes. Only no, I don't want to say it's Mother because Mother's just too simple.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I don't know. This sounds pretty simple.
It's not though. Like it.
I mean, it's got the added layer of doing other things. But,
yeah, and it's not like...
Because Mother is just all metaphor.
It's nuts, too. Yeah, well, you know who else is in this, in like a dramatic turn, is Cedric the Entertainer.
Really?
Yeah, he plays like the head of the big church.
Okay.
And like, well, that's what's interesting, too, is like he doesn't seem like that bad of a guy. He's just doing like, look, we run this church here. Mm-hmm. We end up doing a lot for a lot of people, like...
This is
you just
part
need
of the
to
game.
stay in line,
right?
Because whatever. And it's like, you're going to blow him up too. I don't know. It's just fucked up.
So that's a no from you.
That would be if you really care about the environment and you're religious.
Okay.
Like, I feel like it's a combo movie. Like, that was one thing I respected.
Right.
Is usually if it's a far left movie, it's going to shit on religion.
Right.
If it's a far right movie, it's going to shit on whatever else.
Yeah.
This one, I mean, I didn't leave the movie feeling like, oh, religious people are assholes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
so I like that.
I mean, it's kind of an interesting idea. I like the topic in that, I mean, if you do believe in God, the idea of like, would God be pissed about what we're doing? I mean,
correct.
You know, I mean, that's an interesting question.
It's just annoying when there's like, you know, there's no character there that has any sort of a like viewpoint or argument towards Ethan Hawke on that doesn't just sound like a dumbass. It's like there is someone out there who you would meet who would be like, well, look, here's our thinking on it, and have like an articulate thing.
Right.
But instead it's just like, no, that's bullshit. It's a complicated topic. And like, no, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, so it's just like, shut the fuck up with your, you know, stop preaching to me for 2 hours. Like,
right.
We get it, you know.
Yep. I get that that's probably a big part of your environmental thing, is like you hate people preaching to you, especially, you know, people that don't even want to hear your side of the argument.
Well, and I don't even have a side, really.
Right.
To be honest on this topic, like, yeah, the environment should be clean. I have no problem with a clean environment.
Right.
Do what you can.
Right.
But do I need a movie, like a weird, shocking, fucked up movie to talk about it for 2 hours? No.
Well, it's kind of weird because it's like, well, I mean, you know, people can just make movies to make movies. You know, it doesn't have to have a point. But, well, I mean, it doesn't have to have the point of trying to win over the other side. But, I mean, clearly this is not going to win anybody over.
No, well, and I've seen movies that have like what, you know, not necessarily on the environment, but movies that have like a point of view they're taking that's
Right.
different from mine,
Right.
that I've really enjoyed.
Right.
As far as the environment's concerned, I know you brought up Wall-E.
Yeah, I love Wall-E.
Great movie. That's all it's about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's got some commentary on people being lazy with the whole fat people.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, but it was just, it was so good. It was just really good at what it was trying to say.
But yeah, I would recommend it for people that like artsy fartsy shit. It almost feels like karma for me, because
Okay.
I didn't understand how people don't love Hereditary. And I feel like a lot of people probably came out of Hereditary feeling similar.
Right.
To like, what the fuck was that?
Right.
You know what I mean? But yeah, another note, just movie people note. We had our discussion last week about the breathers and coffers. So this was an A24 movie.
Okay.
The A24 logo popped up at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, no.
Like pre-opening credits. Snorer.
What the?
Snoring loudly. And I was trying to find them for like 5 minutes, like looking around. They were on the opposite side of the theater because I was going to go wake him up. Some guy had to go. Some guy left the theater, went and got the staff, and then a staff member came in and had to shake this guy awake to be like,
Wow.
Hey, you're snoring.
Wow.
So people, the sequel to last week's conversation of if you're not prepared to go to a movie,
don't fucking go.
stay home. Correct.
Don't be a fuck like.
And honestly, that might have affected my review of the movie because I
Right.
was distracted at the beginning.
Right. Well, and you're agitated right at the beginning.
Right. Yep.
Unfair
Yep.
to the movie, but
So yeah, some interesting things happen in this movie. Great performance by Ethan Hawke.
okay.
Great performances all around.
Okay.
Just odd.
Just odd and not really your cup
I
of tea.
feel like maybe you probably felt the way I did when you watched A Ghost Story. Like that's what I felt like when I left. Was like there's just these people and things in it that irritate you. You know, because we had that conversation regarding them being kind of hipsters.
Yeah.
And how it was a little bit like, God.
It was
these
A
characters drive
Ghost
me
Story
nuts.
was so pretentious.
Right.
It was so fucking
This one
pretentious.
felt pretentious to me. And I loved A Ghost Story.
Right. Yeah, I mean we don't always have to agree.
Right, yeah.
But okay. So I'm gonna go into tag.
Tag. Let's hear it.
So 56% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
Really seriously was questioning if I wanted to go.
Okay.
So I was like, man, movies are kind of expensive. Do I really want to take this gamble on this really, what's essentially a 50-50 shot? I don't know what's wrong with critics. It's completely fine. It's completely fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Some of the humor is toothless, but I laughed quite a bit.
So it's fun.
It's fun.
Okay.
I mean, it starts out with, so the premise of the movie is that there's this group of friends, and they have been playing the same game of tag for like 30 years. They started it when they were like 10 or 12, And then they basically refined it to from like I think they said May 1st until May 31st. That's the month of tag. And they all grow up. They end up in different cities. Once May hits, your buddy can pop out of your trash can and tag you, and you're it. And now you got to find one of your other buddies because no tag backs. Come on, like we all understand tag.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, kind of like a fun premise, and I didn't know this at all. Based on a real story.
I know. I heard that. I heard it's based on a true story.
And I mean, you've got really likable actors in it. You got Ed Helms, who is always, fine in his he's always pretty funny in his sort of mediocrity.
Yeah, his hangover persona.
Yeah. You got John Hamm,
love John Hamm.
He's just great.
Yeah, big John Hamm fan.
I believe I always forget if it's Jack or Jake, but Jack or Jake Johnson, the guy from The New Girl, or A New Girl, The New Girl.
I know which guy you're talking about.
Yeah. But yeah, he's in it as sort of like he's divorced, lost his job, and he's a stoner.
Okay.
And he lives with his dad. So yeah, you've got Hawkeye, Jeremy Renner in it. Yeah, he's great in the movie, by the way.
Sounds like you really liked it.
I mean, there are some serious problems with it, obviously. I mean, it's not... Oh, God, why am I forgetting the last guy's name? Hannibal Buress. It's got Hannibal Buress in it.
Hannibal Buress. You would have remembered him if you weren't a white critic, Alex.
God, and the worst part is like, I think he was maybe my favorite character in the movie.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like, basically Ed Helms is basically trying to get them all together to try and get Jeremy Renner, who in the entirety of this game has never been tagged.
He's the master of the game.
And... now Jeremy Renner's kind of rich. He started his own fitness center and stuff. So he's rich. So the way that he evades and the traps and the plans that he has are complete insanity. Like it's a heightened reality. It's a movie reality.
I hear it's got action in it.
The action
it almost feels like action scenes.
Yes, because Jeremy Renner is actually doing basically a straight up parody of sort of almost like his Bourne character. For that one Bourne movie
Never saw it. Glad I never saw it.
It's such a weird movie. It's almost like it just ends halfway through the movie. That's what it felt like. There was no conclusion, really.
Okay, I'll skip that one.
Yeah. Well, I like Jeremy Renner, so I was willing to give it.
So do I.
But yeah, he's doing a weird parody, and it does this thing where they try and get him, and every time they try and get him, screen slows down, becomes very slow motion. And it reminded me of Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr.
Okay.
Where he calls everything that's going to happen with his inner monologue. And it's fucking great.
Okay. Well, it sounds like me and the girlfriend should go see this one.
I mean, it's not... Now, humor is really subjective. And the humor is toothless, but there are some really funny lines in there. There's a point where one of the characters is just thinking to themselves, it's Hannibal Buress, and he's thinking to himself, why does bi-weekly... both refer to twice a week and every other week.
Something I've thought of many times.
That's just lazy linguistically, and I'm just the way he says shit is fucking it's funny. It's just a funny. Now, not all of it lands, and there is something,
but a higher percentage than Deadpool 2 jokes.
Honestly, yes. For me,
I would imagine. I would hope so. Shit.
I mean. And some of it is just so stupid that you're laughing at it because it's so stupid. But I mean, I had a good time. I don't know what to say. I mean, these people what are you expecting with a comedy? It's kind of like what you're saying about this movie sets out for one goal, to make you laugh. Does it do that? Yes. Are the other things in it good? Some yes, some no.
No, there's your comedies that are good movies.
Yes.
That are also comedies. And then there's your comedies where it's clearly the only goal was laughs, and if it made you laugh, then who cares?
Yeah, I mean, and this one has a very simplistic message. It does have the whole they quote I think it's not Benjamin Franklin, because they actually go out of their way to say it's not Benjamin Franklin, but I can't remember who.
One of the other guys.
Yeah, well, it is some dude. And the whole we don't stop playing because we grow old because we stop playing.
Oh, how that's great.
It is kind of a great quote.
It is.
I do really like it, and it's got a nice little message, and there's some real sort of I want to say truths in there about male friendships and how they evolve over time. Some of that impressed me, One of the characters has an arc that is tremendously transparent. You just see it coming a mile away with some of the dialogue that happens.
Okay.
And I will say, if you're going to come into it with like the film angle, there were shots in this movie that I'm like, I've seen this shot before. I've seen this shot transition. I've seen this bar before. I've seen this basement before. Like, it's very sort of
stock
in a lot of ways, but the action scenes are good. The cast is enjoyable.
George Bernard Shaw, by the way.
George Bernard, there you go. Yeah, that's another one of those Hannibal Buress. He kind of comes in and corrects everybody because they keep on saying it's Benjamin Franklin.
There you go.
But I mean, I was shocked, and so it's really nice to. You had the
opposite.
The opposite
right.
Of like, don't always listen to the critics. Go and check it out yourself. I think this movie was well worth your time. Isla Fisher, I believe that's how you...
Yeah, I like her. She's funny. Well,
yeah,
Wedding Crashers, right?
Yeah, she was in it. God, she was really funny. I really liked her
You know
character.
what's a movie that got slammed that was pretty stupid, but she was probably the best part of it? Speaking of John Hamm, I don't even remember the name of it, but if you all Google, there was a movie with Gal Gadot and John Hamm, Zach Galifianakis, and her. And her and Zach Galifianakis were like the schlubby neighbors.
Yes.
And then John Hamm and, Gal move in next door.
Yep.
And like they have something to hide. And
I
they're
remember
like the
that
sexy neighbors.
Yeah.
Had some funny gags in
I
it.
remember that trailer. I was not really interested in that movie.
But she's a good comedic actress.
Yeah, I like her. I really liked her. Yeah, I would recommend this movie. It's not much to spoil with the movie. I just wanted to do one little spoiler.
Sure.
It was kind of nice. You find out that the reason that Ed Helms is so about getting Jeremy Renner and really everybody teaming up and getting him this year is because he has a tumor about the size of one of his testicles, as he puts it.
Okay.
And the chances of him surviving until the next season of Tag are slim to none. And by the end of the movie, he actually goes unconscious trying to get Jeremy Renner. And because everybody doesn't trust anything, because Jeremy Renner has done some crazy shit in this movie. He hires body doubles that are wearing the exact same clothes as him when all the other guys get in the woods.
So he really does not ever want to get tagged.
No. He jumps out of windows multiple times in public places, like breaking the window to avoid getting tagged.
Hey, you got to take it seriously.
I mean, it was
if you think about if you were playing a 30-year game of tag and you were never tagged, you'd be pretty intense about not wanting to lose that too.
Right. Okay, so they were actually worried. So Jeremy Renner is getting married, and none of them were invited to the wedding because she was worried that they would try and tag him at the wedding. So they had to do an amendment, and it's just like you would expect from guys who've known each other since 12. They've got all these amendments written in pen, some on loose leaf paper. It's just great. And they all do this amendment that we're not going to tag you at the wedding or the rehearsal or this, that, and the other. But because of that, nobody knows if this is even a real wedding. They're constantly questioning what's real and what's not.
Okay, because Jeremy Renner could just be like pulling the wool over everybody's eyes somehow. Okay.
Yes. And he's rich enough to have paid a lot of actors. And Jack Johnson's constant thing is like, it's a hired actor. He's constantly going around thinking everything's fake.
Okay.
But the thing about Ed Helms having cancer is that at one point he says, "I won't stop until I die, Jeremy." Forget Jeremy's character's name, but he just says it.
Hawkeye,
I won't stop until I die. And it's just, and they kind of keep hammering it home. So you're like, yeah, I see why you're the most passionate of all the friends.
Right.
But I mean, I will say, even though I saw it coming, still felt kind of bad for him. And a lot of that just relies on the fact that these characters are all likable dudes.
You're into the movie.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, for a movie that just tried to make me laugh, it actually made me feel something else.
There you go.
Now, I will say it had one other thing. There were some deceptions that Jeremy Renner did that went way too far, and I felt very annoyed at his wife and him during a couple scenes, and that does bring the score down a bit. Okay. So I'd still say it's like a 3 out of 5. It's fine. Check it out. It's funny.
Yeah, I will. I will be seeing that one. I want to see that.
All right, Jackson. So before we get into Incredibles 2, I was wondering, where can everybody find us?
Good question, Alex. They can find us at boredandanoid.com.
Yeah.
Facebook.com. Just search Bored and Annoyed. Twitter at Bored Annoyed. And the newest platform we're on is Google Play. So if you're an Android user who doesn't get iTunes, go ahead and search us in there. I'm sure that's where you listen to your streaming music or have your music stored anyways.
Sure.
So yeah, real easy for you. Apparently there is a Google Podcast app in the works as well. So we will be on there.
Yes, easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Yeah. So and you can always email us too, a couple of dudes at boredandannoyed.com.
But so, Jackson, we already know that you enjoyed Incredibles 2.
Yeah.
General thoughts.
How do you know that, though?
You said it earlier in the episode.
Oh, I did. Son of a bitch. I spoiled it for y'all.
Y'all. Come on. Don't be using that terminology.
I mean, I'm trying to go a little more southern.
Yeah, you like that Wisconsin character in there?
I'm from
Oh my God.
Wisconsin.
It's so ridiculous. Seems like almost every time. Anytime a Midwest thing is featured, it's just, oh, geez. Just a head slap.
Look at those dumb people from the flyover states.
Oh, maybe they edited it for each state so everyone heard their own state in the scene.
Oh, come on, Jackson. Pixar has money, but they don't have that kind of money.
Yeah, well, they do, but they wouldn't do that.
Yeah. But, yeah, general thoughts. What would you like about it?
I watched The Incredibles the night before.
Okay.
And you know, it's very interesting to me that they decided to go about it the way they did. I mean, it would have been real easy to do like we'll do like a gag where it's been 14 years or 20 years and the characters are older and Mr. Incredible's in an old folks home.
Right.
Which is kind of, I mean, that sounds fun.
That sounds fine.
But yeah, no, I liked how it picked up right afterwards because I had just watched it and it literally picks up immediately after the events of the first.
Yeah.
I thought it was extremely funny.
Yeah.
I honestly, the best part about it to me was the action in it. Like,
the action
I was more impressed with the action in this movie than I have been. I mean,
Upgrade?
Nah. Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's on that level.
Yeah. I mean, it's very good action.
There's a scene in there where, and it's just fun with animation because of all the cool stuff they can do. There's a scene in the movie where, oh God, what's her name? Elastigirl. Yeah, she's on like a bike that splits in two, and she ends up in this subway tunnel where like
she's on one side, with part of her bike, and on the other side with the other part.
And I was watching that like, wow, this is fantastic.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think my favorite, I mean, I liked a lot of things about the movie, but I think one of the cool things was sort of the innovative ways that they made the characters sort of use their powers. That was kind of nice to see instead of it's just, I shoot fire. I'm going to shoot fire some more.
There's a character who, as a person who gets heartburn, I closely related to.
Yeah.
His name was Reflux.
Yes.
And his power was basically that he like...
Is it a power or just a condition?
Oh, it was awful. It was hilarious. Like, what a great idea.
Yeah.
He's got acid reflux so bad that the acid just spills out of his mouth and burns stuff. Like, creative.
He had a good character design, too. He almost looked like a frog.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked a lot of the character designs. I really liked Void, who kind of did the Doctor Strange thing with the portals.
Yep.
And the way that they did that
was used really well.
It was almost used better than Doctor Strange, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, the action was very, like, intense, and I was really getting into it. I thought it was really good.
Yeah. Action was great. Thematically, I thought it was kind of interesting, too.
What do you mean?
Well, it had... So you've got a villain, and this isn't really spoilers. I mean, you can see it in the trailers. There's a villain who uses TV.
Yes.
And then Elastigirl starts working for basically a big TV conglomerate. So I mean, there's a lot of sort of the power of screens.
Right. So the plot is that these people who own this TV conglomerate want superheroes back.
Yes.
And they are going to set up Elastigirl with a body cam and show her doing good stuff.
Yep.
So that people see it.
Yep.
And they rally to get the politicians to allow the return of superheroes.
Yeah, because if you haven't seen the first Incredibles, it's the idea that they were made illegal.
Right.
And a lot of it is the head of the conglomerate makes the argument that the reason that you guys are illegal is because of what's being portrayed on TV.
Yeah, which is interesting because that's where it plays into the adults going to see the movie because they're going they do totally create the narrative on whatever subject we're currently looking at. You know what I'm saying? Depending on where you see something, you have a different point of view.
I think it's very mature for a kids movie.
100% agreed. It's one of those movies where it doesn't the humor towards kids doesn't treat them like they're stupid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. All the characters are treated with respect. There's even
no, the men are kind of dumb in it. There's a feeling of he could never handle being at home with the kids, which plays out hilariously.
Right.
It's very well done.
Yes.
And then even the TV conglomerate guy is kind of a dunce.
He just seems like a dumb, I don't even want to say dumb. I think he just seems naive and very much a fanboy.
Correct.
So I don't know if I'd go as far as saying he's a dumbass. And I think
but his sister is intelligent.
His sister is literally a genius.
Right.
So yeah, I guess by comparison. Yeah. But animation is great. I love how they updated the character designs because CG animation has come a long way.
Yeah, and that was one thing that I was very aware of because I had just watched the first one.
Yeah.
And I looked over at the girlfriend. We were watching the first one. I'm like, geez, I bet this is going to look way better and way different in this new one.
Yeah.
And they made it look way better.
But it doesn't look way different.
It didn't feel different. If you would have asked me on the spot, what did they change about these characters and the way they look? It would have been tough for me to hit you with details.
Right.
I mean, obviously there's Elastigirl's hair looks better.
Yep.
Everything's a little more polished. But they kept that kind of cartoony, no texture type look. You know what I'm saying?
They kept no texture for the majority of the skin, but when Mr. Fantastic, Mr. Incredible grows out his 5 o'clock shadow, that's got texture.
Yes.
And it's really it is cartoony, but at the same time they still added in the suits had a shit ton of texture.
It just looked fantastic.
Yeah, love the there's a big city that they go to, sort of love the city design there.
Yep.
All the tech there was really cool. We mentioned the bike.
God, that bike scene, that was just great.
Edna makes another appearance in this.
Edna's fantastic.
Yep. Jack is amazing.
Jack was probably the highlight of the movie.
He's maybe the best baby in modern cinema.
He's really goddamn funny.
He's really funny.
There's a great bit in there where he fights a raccoon.
Oh my God.
It's amazing.
I was rolling. It's so good.
Yeah. And it all has such a heart to it.
Yes.
Well, I suppose I'll wait till spoilers. I mean, anything else? Highly recommend it.
Yeah,
highly recommend.
Yeah. Go and see it. It's really good. I think the chances of you not liking it are very small.
Slim to none.
Yeah.
In fact, it's one of those where it's I think it has a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Who are the cold-hearted bastards that saw this and were like, no.
Yeah, no. This is fucking Palpatine.
Yeah, he saw it.
He
gave
not
it a
like
negative.
It. Yeah. Yeah, this is, we're talking about keeping your inner child alive. Those people have killed their inner child.
Yes, it's terrible. But, it's you're always waiting. I think Paddington 2 is still 100%.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there just waiting 3 years from now is some jackass going to fucking in there and post a negative review.
Well, it's the whole contrarian thing.
Yes. There's a guy who did it with Get Out.
Yep. And because of that, I will never click on any of his reviews. I will never go to his site because
he really liked White Chicks with the Wayans brothers. That he gave a positive review. He gave Get Out a negative review.
It's a strange mind. But let's get into spoilers.
Yeah.
So what's there to spoil?
Well, there's a scene in it I think that it's just really points out the heart of the movie, and it's when he's kind of having a tough go of it, taking care of the kids and shit, and he basically has he upset his daughter.
Yes.
Because basically they Men in Black flashy thinged the guy that she likes.
Yes.
They used the neuralizer on him so he would forget that he had seen her previously in the movie in her costume.
Right.
And it sets up this whole thing where basically he just can't catch a break.
Well,
and it ends
the kid actually forgets that she even introduced herself completely.
Yes, true. Yeah.
So that's the big thing. She comes up to him and she's like, "Hey, so I don't know if you saw my new address," and he's all like, "Wait, who are you?"
Yeah, awful.
And she doesn't know about the brainwashing.
Yeah, very well done.
Yeah.
You feel terrible for her.
Yeah.
But anyways, it gets to the point where he feels guilty and he's apologizing, and he's like, I just want to be a good dad or something like that.
That was great.
Oh, amazing.
Breaks your heart.
Oh, it was great. And what did she say? You're like the best dad?
Yeah.
Some cheesy cliche.
You're not a good dad. You're a super dad.
Yeah, something like that.
Because earlier in the movie, it sets it up with, he's not, I'm not Mr. Mediocre. I'm not Mr. Okay. I'm Mr. Incredible. Like he's having a rough time with the kids.
And his struggle in the movie is that like Elastigirl, his wife, got picked for this job. And it's like that's what he feels like he should be doing.
Right.
But what you find out is that what he's doing is heroic too, and that's just being a good father.
Yeah.
Which is fucking great.
Yeah. And it was really great for him to sort of go on that arc of, because he's really passionate about wanting to be a superhero. And that's the thing that he thinks makes him him. And it's sort of nice that he sort of figures out,
right, yes,
this is part of me too, and I need to be good at this too.
Yep.
Because he even says, what am I, a substitute dad? Because they want the mom back when she's, gone doing the heroics.
Yep.
Yeah, that was great. That's a great scene that you brought up.
The movie was fantastic.
And it
really was really, really good. Like, if it wasn't better than the first one, it deserves with every right to be placed right there next to it.
Did you feel like plot-wise it was a little similar to the first? Because you got one parent going on a mission that's,
they
funded by a secret thing. And
they kind of flipped it. So it worked for me.
I think I'm just saying, I didn't know if it bothered you at all.
No, it didn't. It didn't really. And I had just watched the first one.
Right.
So I think the bad guy, the Jason Lee character who like was obsessed with Mr. Incredible as a little kid in the first one. And like, he was the villain in the first one.
Yep.
I think he was more interesting villain. Than this villain in the new one. Yes.
See, I actually really liked the villain in this one.
I thought it was a little predictable.
Oh yeah. I'm not gonna. Okay, so in the movie, you're sort of led to believe that Saul, Better Call Saul is
Goodman.
Going to be the villain because he's the big bad businessman, and the villain, the screen slaver, is great name. He's using hypnotism to hypnotize everybody, and he's got a long face, and he's clearly a man. And so you're kind of like, well, there's a character in the movie who's got a long face. There's a character who is funding all of their things, and this guy, the screenslaver, seems to know exactly where Elastigirl's going to be, has a lot of information. And you're like, it's going to be him. But that's clearly what the movie wants you to think, but it's so obvious that it's going to be the sister, because they set up certain things about the way that she views certain things.
She thinks that basically their parents or one of their parents was killed. Both.
Well, one was killed. The other one died of grief. The mom died of grief.
So one of them was murdered because rather than go to the safe room, he went to go call one of the superheroes from back in the day.
Because they did the whole Batman the 60s show, because he was super rich. You know, he's the one who started the conglomerate, and he started he made these red phones just like the 60s Adam West Batman had, that Commissioner Gordon had.
Yes.
So he was going to call his super friends, but they had just been made illegal. They don't show up. They didn't go to the safe room like the wife wanted. They're dead.
Right. So to me, that wasn't... She didn't do it for me as much.
See, I don't think the origin is as great, but I liked the character a little bit more. She felt a little bit more mature. The Rusty, right? Wasn't Rusty his name?
Yeah, I think it was.
Rusty is he's very much a fanboy, and he's very much trapped in his own time. Like the time of the child mentality has not left him.
But it's funny.
It's funny. It's funny. I liked the design of the screenslaver, and I liked how intelligent she was. And there's this bit where the screenslaver is monologuing while Elastigirl is trying to find his hideout, and some of the things that he says, and these are her words, like she believes the things that he says. I felt like I was like, you know what? She's not wrong about a lot of this stuff. And that's when I was like, man.
So you're saying he is in the
screenslaver,
the actual character, like what you're seeing.
Yeah.
She is the screenslaver.
Yeah.
But you're speaking of the screenslaver as who she controls.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I like the voice. I like the look of the character.
Yeah. So basically the deal is they use some sort of like a strobe light kind of thing that they can throw into like a broadcast.
Right.
And once you're looking at it, you're controlled by the screenslaver.
Yes.
So the screenslaver, it ends up like the look of the character is kind of these goggles.
Yep.
And on
like
the
a gas
inside
mask.
of the goggles are the screens, which are controlling the innocent person inside
the screenslaver
to be the screenslaver.
Yes.
So when Alex is saying he, she, he's saying he as in the person with the mask on, and he's saying she is in the person controlling the person with the mask on.
Yeah. I mean, thank you for that clarification. I found that pretty good, predictable, but you know, I mean, I think a kid's going to get a kick out of it.
The concept's neat because of what we talked about too, where it's like we are kind of controlled by our screens, our phones and our TVs.
It all really funneled together thematically very well.
100% agree.
I think that moment really stuck out. It was just a great sequence when she's going to that, because basically all the other audio is cut out while she's running along the rooftops, following the signal to find his hidden lair.
Yes.
And
that was a neat scene in general.
Yeah. And it was done so well. And then there's that scene where she goes and unlocks his door and he's waiting on the inside of the door.
Yes.
And then when she opens the door, he's gone. That was just good cinematography.
There's very good like action and just neat parts. Like the visuals are great. Yeah, I really the more I think about this movie, the more I like it. Too. Yeah. Like it might be one of the better ones they've done in a while.
Yeah. Frozone was good in this. He actually solved like quite a few of the problems. I love the scene where he's helping the kids.
Yes. Oh, that was great. The scene where he comes over and like all the other heroes who are controlled now by the screenslaver.
Yeah, they all have the goggles on.
Yes, and there's a great little action scene there.
But none of them know that they're controlled. So they all fake it at the door. They're like, oh, hey, we're here to protect the kids because we know something's going on. And he's all like, oh, funny. I'm here to protect the kids too. Well, don't worry about it. I got it. And then they force their way in.
Right. Well, that was neat because you got to see the kids on their own little adventure.
Yep.
You know?
And I love the fact it's one of the classic hero things. I love the fact that he basically sacrifices himself in that the goggles get put on him.
Right.
But he sacrifices himself to make sure that the kids get out.
Yes.
And I thought that was great.
Yep.
I feel like in a superhero movie, you always want a character to do more than just have cool action scenes. They got to sacrifice.
It's a great superhero movie. Like, not looked at as a Pixar movie.
Yeah.
If you're just judging it as a superhero movie, like you just throw it in the superhero genre, it does everything well.
You know what's nuts? Little diatribe here. God, I got to do a segment where it's just called The Little Diatribes. It's a nice band name. But Avengers is number 1 this year as far as opening weekends. Black Panther is number 2. Incredibles is number 3. And Deadpool is number 4.
Wow, so it's the superhero year.
Yeah.
Those goddamn superheroes.
Those goddamn superheroes.
Yep.
I just found that really strange.
Yeah, it's neat.
It's kind of funny.
And this one, that might be the second best one.
It's tough.
Yeah, it is tough. It's really good.
It's really good.
Yes.
Black Panther was super good. I think Infinity War is my favorite of the year.
Me too, but I wouldn't argue with someone who thinks this is a better movie. I wouldn't argue with them.
Yeah.
I would say, I respect your opinion.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I'd have to sit on it for a while.
Well, yeah.
I'd have to mull it over but it's really, you know what? I think you're right. I think you're
great.
right.
I mean, it does everything it's trying to do very well.
Everybody's got a nice, Jack doesn't have an arc, obviously. He's a baby. He learns to control his powers a little bit.
Yeah, the powers are his arc.
God, he was great. He was really good.
Yeah, some of the bits with him, like with the little demon thing. And,
yeah.
Them use it, like he can go into another dimension and they have to use like a computer screen to track him.
It was a small moment, but one of my favorites is, Mr. Incredible has to put the kid to bed, and eventually the kid keeps on waking up and turning on the TV.
Yep.
And so he has to keep on reading him this book. Eventually, Mr. Incredible becomes really tired, so he's falling asleep reading the book instead of the baby. And Jack kind of like does the whole like pat you on the cheek to wake you up with the back of his hand.
Right.
It's freaking great.
Yeah, just little touches.
It's just little moments.
Yep. Yeah, great movie.
It's a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
It was a blast. I was extremely pleased with it.
I'd probably put it in my top 5 of the year so far. Probably.
It deserves to be up there.
It's like Infinity War, Upgrade, Incredibles. I'm trying to remember, there was something else that I loved this year.
Oh, there's
Black Panther.
There's that movie Hereditary, Alex.
There's Tag.
Yeah, right.
But I think that's another one in the bag.
Yeah, Jurassic World this weekend.
Yeah. Real excited.
Yeah, hey, let's get it done. It's going to be over. We're going to be talking about it next week.
All right, well, that's been another episode of Bored and Annoyed.
I've been Jackson.
And also annoyed.
Yes, and bored in some places.
Yes. I have been home at the movies, and I've been neither. It's been a lovely week for me.
And hopefully you cut up a little bit of that ending there, that last 5 or so minutes.
That was some sloppy podcasting.
But yeah, next week, Jurassic World and hopefully Gotti.
Yeah, we're going to have to... Oh, it's going to be a terrible weekend.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, I guess so. Have a great one, guys.
Yep.